I'm Jos Wijers. I'm talking about keys and showing off. First off, well, showing off keys, not showing off as a activity. I'm a member of TOOL, that's the open organization of lockpickers. We pick locks for a sport, as a sport, and we have certain rules, just a few, and they're quite easy. Rule number one, do not pick a lock, only pick locks that you own, or that you have explicit permission from the owner that you are allowed to pick those. And well, that's basically it. If you abide to those two rules, there's a above average chance to stay out of trouble. I'm also a member of Hack42, which is a hackerspace in Arnhem. And when Hackaday did a tour through Europe to figure out what hackerspaces look in Europe, they came up with the term most awesome place in Europe. So yes, I agree on that one. First start off with some clip. There's no audio on that one. Audio, audio, audio. Yes. Music was good. Show of hands, who thinks this is a good idea? There's one, two hands, great idea, brilliant.
Great for us. Yeah.
Well, first of all, well, there's one positive thing. This is brought to you by an insurance company. So if your house gets raided, at least they're going to pay for it. So, but well, yeah, and of course, I don't know where you guys live, but where I live, it's quite harder to find a 3D print shop than a locksmith. But well, it's fun. I mean, and yes, you can 3D print keys. What you saw them do is put a key in a jig that was turning. So they were actually 3D scanning your lock. This insurance company operates out of Belgium, which is Europe, which is not America. And why do I say that? Well, because it's not America, they have a choice of which key to use. Because in America, it's basically Kwikset, Schlage, expensive. That's our right? That's your three options. Either you have a Schlage, either you have a Kwikset, or very expensive. Normal people, normal households will go for option 1 or 2. Or go for option, I don't know. So it was on the door when I bought bought it, whatever, so they leave it on. So basically for normal people, well for an average key to be duplicated in this way, you only need 2 sorts of keys. So then maybe you don't need that turny thingy, and that's correct, because this is a service called Schlüssel, at least they're used to call Schlüssel. I believe they operate in this area-ish, and what they do, they don't take a 3D video render, God knows what. You just take your key, take a picture, send it to them, they send a copy to your house for $5. Well, I would not go for the option, send it to my house, at least use another address. But, well.
Will they hand deliver it?
Sorry?
Will they hand deliver it to your living room? Yeah.
Somebody would.
We just came in.
Yeah. Oh, that's next slide. You've been cheating. So, but it's kind of cool. I mean, you just take a picture and they make a key out of it. I mean, that is kind of cool. I mean, maybe not wise from a security point of view, but bear with me, that's cool. And they have written some quite cool software that not just analyzes the picture, because they don't just duplicate your key, they actually figure out what the original key code was and cut it to spec on that one. So if you have a worn out key, there's an above average chance that your new key that they made for you works better than your old one. That's kind of cool. Still, I wouldn't want to ship to my address, but it's cool. This is not new. Actually, some companies went a step further. Like this fellow here said, they come into your house. Yes, they do, as a service. This is Outbox. That operates, I believe, solely in New York. I could be wrong. Sorry about that. What they do, that's basically a physical reverse mailman. What they do, they show up to your house, your physical house, take away the paper mail, including all the spam and all the bills and all the everything. They take it to their office, scan it, and mail it to you. And that's email, the last part. So you can get printed spam even when you're not at home. Cool. They probably have some filtery thingy on that, but I'm not sure about that. But how do they get into your mailbox? Your mailbox could be at several places. I mean, you have a lock on your mailbox, right? Well, if not, that's easy, and they figured that out. Rule number 1, outside your gate, no lock. Well, we'll just come on and take it. Is it locked outside your gate? Well, we'll need the key. Send us a picture. So they did this. So they actually have the same service incorporated in their business plan as Schlussel had. So you just send a picture, click go, and they don't send you the key, but they come to your door with the key, and they take it. So if it's inside your gate, well, they need the key of the gate, picture, a door slot, and then in the end they go like, we don't really want to go into your building. So if you actually have, like most European have, I don't know how America does that, a slit in the door. So if you would then have to collect that mail, you have to be inside the door. But I guess with guns and all, they went like, no, if you have the mail inside your door, we'll supply you with a box outside your door. And so we have the key to that. But still, I mean, so it's even part of business plans to make pictures, to make keys from a picture. And that's not new. Quite some years ago, there has been some research, and I believe it was, well, it's been on DEF CON and HOPE also, I believe. This is a camera. Well, it's actually more a lens with a camera than the other way around. But this is a kick-ass lens with a, well, decent camera. And what they did is they took pictures. You see a big picture, you see a terrace, you see a chair, well, you see a table. On the table is a book, quite a good book, and on the book are keys. So that's what the lens is for. You see keys. And as we've seen already, from keys, you could probably, well, from a picture from keys, you could probably make keys. They made some software for it that actually can recognize what the actual code is. What you see is, this is a quick set, right? Yeah, it's a quick set. You can recognize it by the quite typical head of the key. And it has some holes in it that are always on the same place. So even if your picture is distorted because you didn't take it dead on, you can crop and resize that image until that head is the correct size and has the correct dimensions. And then you know the rest of the key also has the correct dimensions. And because cuts are always, well, in known increments, you know what the code is. And then, of course, you can cut it to code, which is cool. And that works. So, having a picture taken, we already seen, is enough to lose your key. And now we saw that you can have your picture of your key taken from a block away. security cameras getting more and more high-res by the year, or by the month actually. Moore's laws apply. We have Google Glass. People might be behind you, looking at you, using your keys. In, I don't know, half a year, we'll have eye contact or whatever. You won't be able to see that. So, well, don't show your keys, basically. Another example, also good old days, is this. This is Ray, who is somewhere in the audience. There he is. Hello. He's a good friend of ours from Germany. He's a member of SSDev. And being a lock geek from Germany, and actually one of his specific loves is handcuffs, he had the handcuff key from the German police department. So handcuffs are key-alike. That's the same, as far as I know, all over the world. Well, every country has its own keys, of course, hopefully. And so every American cop has a key that fits to the locks of other American cops. That, if you think about it for a tiny little bit, that sounds stupid, because if you lose one key, you can open all the handcuffs. But if you get arrested, it's actually a good idea. Not so much that you can get out of them, but if police officer one arrests you, cuffs you, and hands you off to another one, that other one is able to remove your shackles, which would be useful. Otherwise, they use bolt cutters quite a lot. So Ray had the key to German handcuffs, and he was on a security conference, not unlike this, but that was in the outdoors, and in the Netherlands. And there were Dutch policemen out there. Ray saw that they were sporting Lips handcuffs. And he said, those look quite the same as the German ones. Dear Mr. Police Officer, can I try this key in your handcuffs? And he said, fuck off, and turned around. The turning around part was, well, there it is. So, well, this picture is not the best picture in the world. I mean, you can maybe decode it or maybe not. But you see it's a high-low, high-lower-ish. You can vaguely see, well, I mean, if you get the original picture, it's a bit clearer. But it's not, I mean, I wouldn't be terribly comfortable to actually decode it from this picture. But claiming that it's probably that's probably the same one as this, yes, that's quite easy doable. Because I don't know the exact code, but this looks about the same-ish as the other one. And then, of course, because it was a hacker conference, they put the files online that you can print your own. I mean, because that's what you do, right? And, well, they live happy ever, and so that's not a problem. So after that, you tried it with another policeman, right?
Actually, after the talks, they allowed us to try.
Okay. So it was a lose-lose situation anyhow, and they allowed you. Okay. But it's cool. I mean, and now all over the world they're printing these keys, which is cool. Okay, so flashing your keys as a tail, maybe not the best idea. Other keys, where do we hide or unhide keys? This is a typical clean desk environment, at least that's the way I envision them. And hello. And you see a whole lot of crap, and I see keys. And next to these keys is a coin, which is cool, because if you take a picture of that coin, with, oh, happens to be a key there also, we kind of know the size of that coin. So if we take this picture and print it off at the correct size, so the coin has the correct shape and the correct size, then the key was in the same plane, so the key is also the correct size. Well, if it's a crab lock, and we kind of guesstimate that it is, what we can do is put some metal behind it and do some kindergarten exercises and stay within the lines, bits and pieces. With some luck, boom, open. So that's not high-tech key duplication, but see if I care, the lock is open. So that works. So leaving keys out in public, potentially bad idea. This story, a couple of years ago. This was covered by a lot of people. Ray was talking about it at some conference. Random Man was used it in a talk. But this being New York, I was like, need to get this in. Some years ago, it was possible to buy a key online that was essentially the master key to the subway system of New York. And I mean, there's ways to troll that in a way that you probably shouldn't. But, well, yeah. And some newspapers got a hold of that idea and they were like, outrage, this key should not exist. Actually, this key should not exist. And just in case this picture is not high-res enough for us to actually read it, they put it on a known map size thingy, so we have reference of how to cut that. Thank you. So, well, maybe not the best idea. So, reporters showing keys. Yeah, let's try something. Gas pumps. Gas pumps you can pay with a card. A card, well, swipey, punch numbers in. If you want to skim that, for God knows why, but then there are several options. You can make nifty plastic hardware you put over it, or start your own gas station, that would be an option. And then, but if it's possible to open this hardware in a neat way, you can put all your evil hardware inside. And so everything looks like the real deal, because guess what? It is the real deal. So then this happened. I kind of need audio on this one.
Vicky, seems unbelievable that one golden key, so to
Can I
speak,
start
unlocks
over?
so many pumps.
We were surprised too, Raj. You could call it the key to the kingdom. It is a remnant from back in the day when all gas station pumps were made with the same lock to make it easier for inspections and maintenance. Now those keys are just providing easy access to a very lucrative crime using new high-tech technology, and in the end, we are all on the hook.
Hidden behind here, a new Bluetooth-enabled skimmer that can rip off your credit or debit information in seconds. This universal gas pump key is making it even easier for thieves to install these new skimmers.
Let's bring in NBC Bay Area's investigative reporter, Vicky Nguyen. Vicky, seems...
There you go. That's not the most complex key in the world. So I can read this, and I know which blank to order. But.
But they put tamper-proof seals over the locks so you would know when it was opened.
If you know what the tamper-proof seal was supposed to look like.
Yes.
Yes,
There's a thing called Amazon.
it is. Oh, didn't know that. So yeah, I mean, at least they tried to make it secure. That was after the program, I reckon.
Yes.
That was their fix. Say fix. Tiny one. But it's a fix. Okay. Another one, example. Like I said, that key to the subway system, there's more. There's more of those sets of keys, especially in New York. Because, well, if police department shows up, or the fire department, you don't want a firefighter to carry a shitload of keys, because we're talking about a serious shitload of keys. If every decent building in New York would be mandated, or should have given their key to the fire department. So if there's a fire somewhere, God knows this and this street, somebody goes to a cupboard and goes like, I need key 76050B. Anybody got that? 6, oh. So no. So you need a couple of keys, master coded, and maybe not to the building, but to a box that has the key to the building or whatever. So it kind of makes sense for a safety point of view to have a couple of keys that are basically the keys to the kingdom. But for a security point of view that we're talking about, well, I don't know how many firemen there are in New York, But sharing a secret with a shitload of people is not considered a secret. It doesn't scale. I mean, handing out keys, well, it scales to some extent, but then it doesn't. So this happened.
Well, the apocalypse might be coming because a New York Post reporter just scooped a legitimate story. An intrepid reporter for America's third dumbest paper has found a slightly disturbing item for sale on eBay. Former locksmith Daniel Ferraris sold the undercover reporter a New York City fireman's keyring for $150. The keys give the owner the ability to control elevators, circuit breakers, subway entrances, and traffic lights all over the city. They essentially become the keymaker from The Matrix Reloaded.
I only learned yesterday that I'm not allowed to quote that movie. Thanks, Dev, for the heads up. But, well, at least I didn't. He did. Yeah, $150 for 5 keys. Well, you don't need to pay that because you know what they look like. And they went down in price because that's a subway key. That's in between that. That's the second from the left. How do I know that? Well, it's a news outlet, and all these news agencies, well, they don't come up with all the news themselves. They copy quite a lot. So other news agencies jumped on it and came up with this picture, which exactly outlines who should have it, where it's been used, and what to do evil with it. For $150. But they're not that stupid, because I don't know which paper it was, if it was this or the former one, but they did call up a locksmith, asking, will it be a problem if we put these pictures online, or well, show them to the world? Because, well, we don't want to leak that info if that's useful for terrorism, or God knows what the buzzword today is. And that locksmith said, I never produced keys from pictures. Nope, it's okay. So, producing keys from pictures. Okay. Like I said, I'm a member of Hack42, which is a hackerspace in Arnhem, which is in the Netherlands. So is Amsterdam. Amsterdam has his own hackerspace. Actually, there are 2, or that's considered a makerspace. There's one hackerspace in Amsterdam. It's called Tech Inc. And being in the same country, we tend to troll each other in a friendly manner. I mean, we have a special set-aside troll budget, and you know, because trolling does scale, as you know. It does work. Okay, Hack42. Tech Inc. They got a new place to hack their stuff, and they were. New space, brilliant. It was bigger and better and all good. Of course, they got new keys, because, well, that's useful. And so Bugblue, one of Hack42 members, and he's a decent troll, he was on RC chatting with the Tech Inc. guys, and he said, are you sure that's a good key? Because one of our members, he kind of knows locks. So if you send a picture of your key, maybe put a coin next to it, so we can assess if that's a secure key or not. Okay, so this is a quite nice blown up picture. I don't know what the code is, but I can tell you it looks about this. Agree? So I can draw this. Right? That's basically what I just did. Yes? And I load this in the machine that's the newest, because that's what you do. Because, I mean, the day before we got a laser cutter, so we put this on the laser cutter. It's a good thing we didn't get, I don't know, milk machine. But, because this is useful on the laser cutter. So we put it on the laser cutter, and we put some plastic in there. First we put a label on there, because we have, of course, a shitload of plastic keys. So if you lose it, you at least know where to use it. Newest machine, first video. Yes, it's long. We're not there yet. Have Hello, Google. So that's the label, and that's the burn. You see fumes going on. That's before we had the... Yeah, after that we got the draft going, but now, nope. So we come up with something that looks like a key. And I know the code is correct-ish, because, well, it's the same shape. There you go. So it comes up with something like this, and it is the same shape. But of course, this will never fit in your lock, because this is a thick piece of plastic. But the shape is good. So what we do, we put this on a normal key copying machine. So here's the piece of plastic, there's a blank, and you need to have some knowledge about that blank, granted. But I mean, it looks like a dirt cheap lock, and we kind of guesstimate, yeah, that'll fit. So we take the thinnest blank we could find, and we got it. Very good. And being a hackerspace, open sourcey, shared data, we put this project on the wiki. And, well, I don't know if the lock worked. You can hear when people reach the last line. That's fun. That's yep. And as well, Dr. Wax stated, you better install new cylinders. Well, we didn't hear that, of course, because the bug was kicked. But well, we got that all planned and installed and whatever. Because within 24 hours, we were there swapping the cylinders for a way better one, and having, I believe, 90 blanks, well, 90 cut keys for them to actually redistribute to their members. Then they were like, no, not next week would be better, and fuck you. New lock in there, your problem. And, well, because that's what you have a budget for. So, and after that they were like, now you don't have the keys to our hackerspace anymore. I was like, who supplied that lock? They were like, oh. So then I become a member and got a discount because they didn't need to give me a key. Which is cool. I mean,
21:30.
yes, it is. Somewhere in the world. Here. Okay. More fun. Okay, Amsterdam. We're going a bit more south to Belgium, because Belgium, if you believe it or not, has speed camps, as more countries have. And there was a weird story, a story that I truly don't get. Apparently it was possible to not obtain the keys, well, yes, but also the locks that go into these speed camps. I have no idea how that came about. But there was a program showing you could, well, buy those locks, key-alike to a speed camp. It is in Dutch. We made up some subtitles, so bear with us.
Ons komen regelmatig wel e-mails van mensen die een en ander beweren, eigenaardige mails, maar ook opmerkelijke, zoals deze e-mail die we gekregen hebben. En dat gaat eigenlijk over iemand die beweert dat je heel eenvoudig met een sleuteltje de flitspalen open krijgt. Dus stel je voor, je wordt geflitst, je hebt een sleuteltje en leef je uit op de flitspaal of op de besturing van die paal. En dat je ook die slotjes heel gemakkelijk kan kopen. Ik onderzoek dat even, we zijn in Brussel en we beginnen natuurlijk bij de slotenmaker. Sleuteltjes. En een cilinder-slotje. Volgens de mailschrijver zit dit in de flitspaal en kan ik met die sleuteltjes de flitspaal openen. En hoeveel heeft dat gekost? Dat heeft €14,23 gekost. Als dit werkt voor €14,23, dat is opmerkelijk goedkoper dan een boete van een flits. Dit is hij dan, deze paal. Er zijn in Vlaanderen heel wat acties geweest om deze flitspalen uit te schakelen. Men heeft erop geschoten, men heeft ze in brand gestoken, men heeft ze zelfs afgekleefd. Maar eigenlijk is dat volgens onze mailschrijver allemaal niet nodig. Want het geheim van deze paal zit in deze kast. Deze robuuste kast is de aansturing, de sturing, de elektronica, de stroom van die flitspaal. Dit sleuteltje, dat je daar deze combinatie onschadelijk mee kan maken. En ja, het klepje gaat hier open. De sleutel past. De deur gaat open. Hier kan je hem zelfs gewoon handmatig en automatig aan en afzetten. Laten we dit maar dicht doen. Terug op slot. Volledig nieuw. Dit is wraakroepend. Dit kan niet.
Okay, so you can buy the lock. I'm not going to buy the lock. I want to see if I'm capable or able to produce that key. Wouldn't that be cool? Who would have thought of that? So from that video we lifted this still, this one, oh, useful, and boom. Thank you. That's probably going to save me 13.24 in euros, that is. Because from this key I can see it's a BKS, which is in Europe well, that's the same as the Kwikset. It has a peculiar head. So I can recognize this, and knowing that size, and well, what would spacings be like? Well, kind of about this. This is, well, go online, figure out what the normal spacing is, what the depths are, and basically look very close at the picture, guesstimate a bit, make a key, compare. Yeah, that's about it. So this, we assume, at that time, is the key to all Belgian speed cabs. Maybe I shouldn't show this. I don't know, too late, done. But then, of course, dilemma, because I can't use this. Well, one different continent, but rules. I'm not allowed to pick a lock that's not mine and I don't have permission for. Well, I'm pretty sure they're not going to give me permission to try this. So I can't. And I don't want to drive to Belgium, but well, you have to. Sorry? That was exactly what we did. You know. Through various ways we were able to obtain totally legit a speed cam. Heck yeah, it works. That's fun. Sometimes your trolling budget takes a dive, but fuck off. But of course, like I said, I mean, you could buy the lock with the keys with it. And of course, having the keys, not just the picture, but the actual physical key, well, it's the holy grail, basically, because then you can just dupe it. Because like we did with the plastic, just put it in a duplicator and go. Yeah, but there are other keys that have a restricted key ray, right? So you can't put that other piece in a duplicator because it doesn't exist. You can't buy that. Well, not if you can be more resourceful than your normal guy and actually buy that or make that. That's cool. This is an easy entry machine. And it basically does the same as a normal key copying machine. It scans your key and it makes those grooves. But on the other side of the key. It takes slugs of brass that you put in the machine, and what it does, a normal key machine would mill this, right? And now it basically mills this. So it creates, out of a solid piece of brass, a blank that you can then put in a normal key copying machine and do the other side. Way cool. It's kind of an expensive machine. Well, maybe not for a locksmith, but for a sports group, it kind of takes a hit. We do have one, but well, duh. So Germany has one, US has one, Netherlands has one, but normal locksmith groups would be way too expensive for this. So yeah, I mean, but it's doable. But even if you can't afford or want to have or whatever this machine, there are other ways. If you have access to the key. Tin soldiers. Why the hell does he put tin soldiers? Well, you can cast stuff, right? And that even works for stupid keys that you even haven't even got an idea how to cut those. I mean, weird angles and whatever. So there are kits for that. This is actually a okay set for a low security lock, and they are better to component stuff. But same-o. A key, a normal key is a piece of metal in a certain form that you could probably duplicate. This is cast, and you see it's not a perfect copy. I mean, there's some stuff here, and it's not as blingy as the other one, but it works. And if it doesn't, you can remelt that and try again. Because it's just tin or any solder or God knows what. But I mean, you can try everything. So having your keys, losing your keys for, I don't know, 2 minutes, that's way enough time if it's planned ahead to not make a duplication, but take all the measurements for the mold or actually making the mold. That's enough. So if you lose your key for 2 minutes in the wrong situation, it's considered lost. And if you find it back, it's considered a souvenir. Okay, showing keys in public. What can possibly go wrong? This is Rob Gronkrijp. And well, if I give this talk in Europe, everybody goes like, yes, that's Rob Gronkrijp. Rob is in the Netherlands, he's the most well-known hacker. He founded the first public ISP, Access for All. So he's a good guy. And he's a hippie. And let's do a movie. It's a Dutch.
We zijn nu op station Weesperplein, Weesperplein in Amsterdam. En we gaan hier een beetje rondlopen om te laten zien wat wij hier in de jaren 90 allemaal hebben uitgespookt. En wij liepen hier in de jaren 90, begin jaren 90 liepen we hier rond en we hadden door allerlei toeval ontstaan een sleutel in handen waarmee we geen metrosysteem in konden. De sleutel paste letterlijk overal op. En dan wil het geval dat er onder dit station allerlei interessante dingen liggen. Schuilbunkers, vreselijk spannend, zeker in die tijd vonden we het geweldig. Nou, dan staan ze in de lucht en dan ga ik dus niet op het knopje drukken, maar ik draai de magische sleutel om. Dan gaat de deur nauwkeurig dicht en dan gaan we niet naar het perron, waar we gewend zijn dat de lift heen gaat. We gaan gewoon door naar beneden. Tot we aankomen in een veel diepere ruimte. Oh kijk eens, daar is het licht. Geweldig. Fantastisch.
And then you have hackers in your super secret underground bunker. What's wrong with this picture? It's a tad out of focus, yes. It's a bit crooked. And, oh, I mean, he's a hacker for God's sakes. He's security savvy, how do you, he's savvy, he knows security. Talk around it. That's not the key. That's not the key. Let me repeat, that's not the key. But you didn't know that, right? I mean, the drama and getting in, dong, dong, dong. So we take nothing away from this news segment by faking it. They had the key, yeah, you saw them use it. That's different. This is just a cabinet key laying around, God knows what. That's not even close to the actual key. It's a perfect, valid way, in my opinion, to bring that story. So you don't have to leak info. You don't have to. Because we all get this. We all get that in normal situations, this is a bad idea. Yes? I mean, we can even convince users that this is maybe a bad idea. The idea is probably even worse than we imagine at the moment. Because this is not just looking with glass, no, this is looking with glass from across the room. That's what this research is. That's quite recent, I believe. And But that also, because this is your key. This is the same as your key. So showing your key in public is, to me, the same. Well, it's basically giving out your password, which is wrong, which we shouldn't do. And please let not be too stupid about it, because this is a bad man. This is a killer, who are considered bad men, and he got convicted, thrown in jail, and he walked out of that same jail because the design of the master key was printed on front of the prisoner's information handbook. A copy of that book was given to all inmates on arrival at that prison. High security facility. And that's one sentence. I don't know what's wrong with that sentence, but there's something wrong with the mixture of those words and these face-palmy thingies. What I'm trying to say is, it's insecurity. It's sometimes quite straightforward to do things good, but it's mostly easier to find one person fucking that up. Have a bit time. Last week I heard a story about a nuclear power plant in Austria. It's totally unrelated, but I want to share. And being a nuclear power plant, well, safety is quite high on their list. Security also, but safety, well, kind of. It's nuclear. So there's this guy said, we do not have enough fire extinguishers. And they do buy the right type. And cool. So they hire a guy going in there, hazmat suit, I don't know, I'm making that up. But he comes in to install fire extinguishers. And halfway through this job, it's like, this is a stupid wall. Why do they use 9-inch steel plate on this normal wall? Drill, 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 drill. New drill bits. So on their primary containment vessel, they now have 8 holes. But they do have fire extinguishers. But they can't pressurize it anymore, so out of commission. One fuck up, and your safety, security, whatever, can be rendered mute. That was all. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, please use the microphones. And there's not. Thank you very much. Oh, there is a question. There's a question. There's 2. There's more. Wow. Bring it.
Hoe heet jullie hackerspace in Arnhem?
Sorry?
Hoe heet jullie hackerspace in Arnhem?
Hack 42. She was asking what the name of the hackerspace in Arnhem was. We're online.
Another example,
Render.
if there wasn't all sorts of elevator stupidity, we've been here earlier. Did you have something to do with that?
Come to the talk on Sunday.
There's a talk about failability with keys and losing them tomorrow.
There was another instance where there was, I want to say South Africa, where they were showing off this brand new prison and everything like that, and taking a news crew around, and the news crew got pictures of the keys.
Yes.
And they billed the news crew for replacing all the locks because they didn't trust them anymore.
You fucked up, yeah.
Well, at least they didn't issue them on the front of a friggin' manual.
Well, I mean, you can release numbers to keys in several ways. There was some big school complex somewhere in America. Could be. Somewhere, doesn't really matter. And they had some financial problems and there were some questionable things. So with a freedom of information construction, the media managed to get some papers out. And among these papers were the builds or the technical specs for the locks they got installed. And the invoices, that was the word I was looking for. And the codes on that for those particular locks were on the invoice. I mean, mean, I can imagine that some bookkeeper who has to get these papers out kind of makes that wrong decision to not blur out those numbers. I kind of get that, ish. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be their decision, but I mean, it's understandable. It's a fuck up, yes, but I mean, she's not the security person. She does numbers. Oh, well, goddamn, that particular person is not the security guy / woman / else, whatever. And but yeah. But then they were looking at, okay, this is going to cost money because they have a shitload of buildings, so a shitload of keys. They're all master keyed. To change them all out, that was, what was it, 700 grand or something, that was their initial idea? I don't know, but a bundle of, maybe more, I don't know, a bundle of money. But then they figured out, no. We have a restricted keyway. That's good, because copies can't be made. It's impossible, doesn't happen in this world. Some of the keys they used were not restricted, so we only changed them about. So the cost price was about 15% that initially thought of. But then restricted key profiles, we looked at that. And like, I mean, I don't know who you guys were in the talk yesterday. If I can see your keyway, you're fucked. And I don't need to make a bump key because I have your codes. I only need the, so there you go. Any more questions? Ray.
No question, but
Okay.
if we still have time, possibly another short
Not that
story.
much. 5 minutes. Yes, 5 minutes we have.
No, it's just 1 minute. Related to the Last Hope conference, I remember some crazy guy released, or not released, but showed how to make 2 different handcuff keys at the Last Hope conference.
It was
And-
some German, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not, don't remember the name.
No,
But actually, there was 2 different keys he presented. One was a very easy to obtain key he got from eBay,
Yep.
and the other was a key to a handcuff which wasn't even released at the time. So one of the keys he put on Thingiverse, the other one he didn't put on Thingiverse because he's a responsible guy, of course.
Of course, that's what you do.
And there was a reporter in the room who made a nice story about that.
Of course.
And he quoted Ray saying, I put one key on Thingiverse and I won't put the other because it's too secret.
He wrote
With a
it down.
photo
That was a
of
quote.
both keys directly next to it. I'm
But
sorry,
Daniel
Ed.
did apologize for that, right?
He apologized
Yeah, yeah.
for that later in the blog,
Yeah, yeah,
but the
yeah.
photo was out, so.
But still, yeah.
Now there's a model of Thingiverse done by someone else who said, I tried to make it from the photo of the blog. So.
Which is allegedly possible, yeah, to make
Yeah.
keys from photos, yeah.
But I won't admit that I tried it and it worked, so.
Cool. Good one, Ray. Render.
Since we're talking about fuck-up stories, not one I was involved in, thank God.
no.
But one I did hear was apartment building, which, lots of people coming and going, and, you've got keys not being returned, all those sorts of problems. So, oh yeah, it's really expensive to rekey everything every time, somebody doesn't turn their key in when they
can be, yeah.
leave and everything like that. So the maintenance guy got himself a pin kit. Great, cool. So what he would do was make it work for pretty much any key that was there, and they'd just go and get a new key keyed and do a master key. Well, over the years, this thing was nothing but wafers. You could shove anything into this thing and it would open. Because if you understand master keying, like you basically have a pin at every single possible level on every single position, and yeah, you could shove a twig in this thing and it would open. So, some people who think they understand, locks and security, maybe shouldn't.
Well, they understand how they work.
Well,
but
they
don't
understand not to
what
fuck
they're there
up,
for.
but-
Yeah, that's basically it. Cool. Thank you.
Any other good stories?
I mean, we can line up for stories. Forget about questions. Nope, that's it. Oh, there's Dev's here. Dev. Miss Roland. Oh.
Yes. By the way, just for reference, he and I were sitting next to each other at a Hope, God knows how many years ago, and learned lockpicking at the same time. And it's amazing what this man has done in that time. So, yeah, he's got 2 books.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to give props to this guy for sitting next to him and learning and seeing how far he's gone is just awesome. So.
I got a story also. Dev, can you hold on for just a
Yeah, go
second?
for it, man.
At some security conference in Vegas, maybe, I don't remember. there was a, well, security thingy going on, and we kind of blew some fuses at some point. That's not the one that there's videos of, that's another totally not related event. Do not Google, or maybe do, see if I care. And so fuses blown, and workshops hold and help. And housekeeping, or whatever, janitor, who do you call? Well, goes, well, could be. Well, some guy with the keys to the kingdom from that way too expensive hotel showed up. And of course he had keys, lots of them. But one of those keys on his quite massive key ring looked way more worn than all the others. They were all bright, shiny, new, except that one. Which tells us that's the key he used every day, all day. There's a quite above average chance that that's your master key, dangling in plain view, walking into a room of hackers, nerds who fiddle around with locks and have high-def cameras. My story stops here. That would be better. Def.
Well, just to talk about the Mr. Farias, the lockpicker, the locksmith who was selling the fire keys in New York, the fireman's key, which gets you also into the subway gates and things. That's been so publicly described, and what you showed was the New York Post story with the quote and everything. You know, we checked with somebody, and you cannot make this key. That's mentioned in our talk tomorrow, and we're mentioning, we all laugh at it. Look at those jerks. What was not mentioned in Jos's talk, but we've decided after we checked with legal, and we found out that they've replaced some and haven't replaced others. We're going to go ahead and drop the full bidding code in our talk tomorrow on that key. And you'll understand why it's not the security breach you think, but it's still something. So you should come to the elevator hacking talk at noon.
Thank you. I believe we're done here. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
How's everyone doing? Constitution keeping up? Long day today, right? Yeah, getting energized. We got a lot of things going on this evening still. There's actually a concert starting right around now. Don't leave this room. But if you're looking for something to do afterwards, I think it's going to go to around 2 a.m. down sort of in the mezzanine area where you first enter the first floor pavilion. So that's going to be a concert for a few hours, live, or I guess it's live mixing of live radio is what it is. So that was very good last night, and hopefully it'll be just as good tonight. The other thing we have going on this evening, as you might have noticed, are movies. We're still delayed everything by an hour, so it's going to be kind of a late night if you want to go over the whole sequence. One movie I'll highlight that you saw in your program is a movie called Algorithms, and this is actually a commercial, box office type movie, although probably not so mainstream. And they were nice enough to send 270 bags of vegan popcorn. So, yeah. But you have to be there at 1 a.m. So it's an endurance test, and part 3 is coming up tomorrow with the endurance test. We have some fantastic talks right at 10 in the morning, so it's going to be just keep your energy level going. So getting there right. So. Are you doing the F8 magic or whatever it might be? Well, I mean, you're on a ThinkPad or something, right? Yeah. There's usually something that switches to mirroring mode. Okay. Yeah, dual monitors. Okay, the other thing I can announce is we've had some fantastic responses to what we call the U room. So we have 3 rooms named after famous dissenters, whistleblower types. We have the Manning room. You knew about that. You have the Serpico room, which hopefully you know about if you have any knowledge of New York history. There's a little blurb, little sign on the wall back there. The Olson room, who tragically actually jumped or was pushed, depending on who you believe, to his death from a room here in Hotel Pennsylvania as sort of aftermath of whistleblowing. We have another room called U. Don't emulate the Olson jumping to the death part or falling or being pushed, but U is where you get to do your own talk. We had lightning talks today and yesterday, and the sign-up sheet is already there for tomorrow. So if you're interested, or maybe you didn't get to do a lightning talk, you maybe did a lightning talk and you really wanted 50 minutes instead of 5 minutes, the opportunity is there to sign up. The sheet is already back in the U room. Okay, last thing I'll mention. Are we good?
We are not good.
Oh.
Not showing.
Okay.
I tried to turn off the main display and now I just can't see it. Okay,
What is going on?
It hates me, apparently. The last time I gave a talk at DerbyCon, same problem.
Yeah.
I must have bad luck.
You're on VGA.
I'm on VGA.
Yeah. And when you projected externally only, it didn't show up there either.
So let's say desktop only.
Yeah.
No. That would be a problem altogether.
So the classic question is, does anyone know anything about computers here? Yeah, reboot. Let's call tech support. We're not getting external display on the ThinkPad. He's trying to mirror.
I'm just going to turn every single display that it finds.
They're making sure the settings on the video switch are the right ones.
Windows key and P, if it's a Windows box, should bring up the display menu for multi-screen.
Now I hit projector only, and now I.
Yeah, still nothing. One more announcement. Oh yeah, clean up your shit, please. The hotel cleanup staff spoke to me this morning. They're like, "Wow, do you have like a hog convention in here?" So I don't know what he didn't. Anyway, please do just grab the garbage that you brought in with you and it wasn't garbage and then it turned into garbage during the time you were sitting there. Just take that out with you. There's a lot of bins in the back of the room, or even if you pile it by the bins if they fill up. Definitely appreciate that. Just do it after every talk for the rest of the event. Take out your trash. And what the heck, I mean, if you see someone else's trash, then you can take that out, then karma works. The next time they'll take out your trash. It'll be a cycle of good, and everyone gets a pony. I'll be here all week. I'm kidding.
Well, no.
Be here all day. Okay, high points from the conference so far? Anyone want to share? The keynote? So you got a lot of Ellsberg, right? I got to meet him. This guy is sharp. Holy cow. His hearing isn't that good. You notice we had the headset on later on. He is sharp. He's with it. He's widely read and very impressive. Thanks. Yeah, and the keynote, so Ellsberg, right? But Snowden. So did we kick butt? I think, right? Technical, you know, everything. We had a little dropout of video in this room. Simulcast overall was good. We'll have stats tomorrow. We think we might have hit a couple thousand people on the live stream during the event. So, yeah. The stream, I think it was for this one. I think it was ISOC or someone. We'll announce this tomorrow. Who helped us out and stuff. And ISOC helped with the streaming here. And I think they captured it and it's up there somewhere. Maybe it was Twittered, but I don't know if it's linked in any place really. But yes, it was. But of course, you should buy the DVDs. They're for sale for a bargain price. Yeah. Ooh. I'm only speaking out of one side of my mouth right now.
Oh my God.
Right. That's a problem we can fix, I'm sure. So yeah, so the stream I think was published someplace, but I don't think we've linked it in yet. And the DVD is probably at least as good as the stream, or might be pretty close to the same. Yeah. Possibly slightly higher resolution. Yeah, I usually walk out of here with a bunch of DVDs. So, all right. Any other high points, low points, feedback? I'm one of the conference organizers, so yeah. Yeah, the elevator story. Some of you heard me. I mentioned this we had a late start in the Olsen room before, and basically it's extortion. Am I on camera right now? Basically, it's extortion by the hotel where they tell us the rules like Friday morning of the conference, and it was going to cost us about $3,000 to have an elevator operator all the way through. Union thing, they have to have some guy doesn't have to be a guy, some person to push the button, not a robot, evidently, unless they're a union member robot. And so we opted just to do it from noon till 6, but evidently I guess there's union rules about taking breaks and maybe not, in deference to repetitive strain injury, not maybe pressing them constantly, but just pressing them, after a substantial rest. I don't know, I'm making fun a little bit. So yeah, the elevator situation this year was poor, especially the signage, especially where you press it and you don't know if it's going to show up or not. We did actually book it from noon till 6 yesterday and today, and I think we're not going to do it tomorrow because it just was not really worthwhile, so we'll just tape it over. And we told the hotel, we said, hey, do you really want 3,000 people tramping through 2,500 people tramping through your lobby and disrupting the hotel guests? And guess what? They didn't give a shit. They didn't care. Yeah, the hotel. Was that? 100 short. Yeah, no, I actually don't know. We won't know the numbers. I don't even know. We usually don't even announce them because there's always little wiggle room because we have comps and this and that. I think maybe around 2,500 people. Yeah. Yeah, 2,600 would have been nice. We were watching the live stream during the Snowden talk, waiting to see if we would hit 2,600, and we didn't quite get there. We got around 2,000.
Are you plugged in? No. Well, this was plugged in, but now my screen won't even turn on. It just hates me entirely. So
Wow.
I'll try it with this guy's MacBook again.
All right. So elevators are a low point. Please, a suggestion. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the message is put it on YouTube. I suspect someone probably did. And yeah, certainly it should be. He was, my impression, I'm curious what everyone else thought, especially because I was moving around a little bit when it was happening. My impression is this is as articulate as he's ever been on some of the more technical aspects of what he's been involved with, maybe some other things as well. So you don't get, in the SXSW and the NBC interview, I didn't experience the same depth that I did today. So I agree it's valuable. I don't know, what do people, am I about right or what do people think? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was sort of like Snowden uncensored in some way. He wasn't. I think he planned his remarks, especially towards the end. I think he had sort of notes or whatever, kind of planned remarks. So he was being deliberate, but he was definitely talking at our level. He wasn't dumbing it down for a general level, which I liked. Yeah, you don't say fuck on NBC.
I'll
Yeah,
do no slides.
apologize, Fizz. I want to. Should you?
I'll do no slides.
It might be the way to go. I mean, we're running behind a little bit, and at the end of the night, we can kind of tolerate that.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
I apologize.
No slides.
Do you want interpretive? No, I'm not going to do that.
Can I get like a sign language and like some dance? I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Something to make it.
Nick Cano is going to talk about hidden world of game hacking.
Oh, I have to hold this thing right. Oh no, it's pretty good. Okay. So, if I was on my first slide right now, it would be telling you that I am Nick Cano. I'm 21. I've been breaking computers since I was 12. Professionally, I'm authoring a book for the No Starch Press on game hacking. I develop bots for online games, and I also do malware analysis and detection at my day job. For hobby work, I like vulnerability discovery and rootkit and malware development, and that's kind of really related to my game hacking stuff. So this presentation is going to talk about, let me fix this. Okay, so this presentation is going to talk about just kind of the world of game hacking. It's not going to be so technical, so you're not going to walk out of here like a pro game hacker, but it is going to tell you about kind of just the tools game hackers use, the methods they use, and the fight between game hackers and game companies. So we're going to start off just talking about an overview, and then we're going to go into tools of the trade, all the methods that game hackers use for full control, and then we'll talk about the moral and legal implications, and that's really the main point of this talk. I'm using my non-existent slides to kind of guide my talk. So what is game hacking? Game hacking is automating gameplay. There's a lot of things you can do. You write bots when you're hacking games. And so there's like cave bots, which are bots that can walk around in the game and hunt and kill monsters, collect gold, do whatever, and get you levels. And that's normally what you're going to sell is a cave bot. And then some people make aim bots, maybe for like first-person shooters that'll automatically aim their gun and then they shoot, headshot, dead, they win. And then there's auto healers. Some people just don't want to be bothered healing in the game, so they have it detect when your health is low, press a button, okay, you've done healed. And then there's combo bots. So in like PvP heavy games, you might make a bot where like, when my friend shoots this spell, I'm also going to shoot this spell, and then you just have 10 kids shoot a spell and there's a headshot and the guy's dead. So all of these things can be really profitable. And then there's also other bots that people will write, which not so much is profitable, but they're normally integrated into the more advanced stuff. And these like heads-up displays where you might show extra information, like the combo bot just did this much damage, or like you just got hit for this much damage in the past second, and stuff like this. Just things to make it easier for the people playing. And then there's like extrasensory perception bots, like wall hacks or floor hacks or spying up a level or seeing someone through a mountain and stuff like this. And some game hackers also write recorders and replayers. Like there's a tool called LOL Replay for League of Legends that can record the games. What it does is it captures all the packets and then just replays them to the client at any time so you can watch it. Stuff like that. So game hacking started probably when online gaming started, to be honest. I mean, as soon as something new comes out, hackers want to break it. So game hacking's been around for a while. But if you want to look at like the golden age when bots were most effective and they were best, is probably late 90s, early 2000s, when online gaming was becoming prevalent, but the games were still simple enough to manipulate easily. So games like Tibia, Ultima Online, and RuneScape all came out around 97, 2000. And these games, if you play them, you'll realize a lot of people use bots on these games just because of how simple their architecture is. Where's my water? And then there's the question of why do we do it? Why do we hack games? A lot of people do it for fun. I started out 14-year-old kid. I saw people with bots. I was like, cool, I want to do that. So it's a challenging hobby for someone who's into hacking. It's really fun. It's also great practice for anyone trying to learn reverse engineering or just development in general. Some people do it for the reputation. It's cool to say to all your friends in the game, look, I made this bot. go use it. And then profit. And this is the main motivation for a lot of the really good game hackers is profit. You can get in-game gold, an extreme amount of it, and real-life money as well. People make six figures. People make millions of dollars selling bots. So it's an actual real business. So if I had slides, you'd see this pretty graph. But I have a case study of a game called Tibia. No one's ever heard of this game. So in 2011, they reported that after expenses, they made $1.8 million. Now, estimated from my income, the income of other bot makers, and the income of everyone I know in the botting community for that game, the botting community made about $1.1 million. So only 700,000 less than the game itself. So it can be, profit can be a huge motivation for game hackers. And then another case study, if you look at World of Warcraft, which many more of you have heard of, the guy who created bots called Pocket Gnome and Shadowbot made a company called Ceiling Fan Software. He made $289,000 in the time he sold these bots. And then there's a guy, Mike Donnelly, I believe is his name. He gave a game hacking talk at DEF CON a few years ago. He had a company called MDY Industries that made a bot called Glider, and it made $4 million in its lifetime. So tools of the trade. If you're a game hacker, one of the number one things you need is called Cheat Engine. It's a memory scanner, so you pull it up, you attach to your game, you say, oh, I have 500 health right now, so you put in the value 500, hit scan. Now you see every memory address where 500 is, right? Now you let your health change, now it's 480. You put 480 in, hit scan again. You do that until you have like one result, maybe two results, doesn't matter at this point, they're probably both representing health. Now you know what your health is, so now you can make an arbitrary program that just reads this one memory address in the game and hits a button, now you have an auto healer, right? So it's a really powerful tool. It's also great for writing, you can write scripts in Lua to easily manipulate memory. It's great for prototyping. So if you say, oh, I want to make some hack that manipulates memory in some way, it's great for testing. OLEDBG is another great tool that people use, or IDA or whatever you want to use, any debugger really. You can manipulate game's code, you can step through it, see what it's doing. It's really powerful. If you're really serious about game hacking, it's something you definitely can't do without. And then of course there's Process Monitor and Process Explorer. They're just God mode. So like you drop Process Monitor, you want to figure out how is this game loading map files. Maybe you want to modify the map and find the code that's touching it. So you look at your Process Monitor log, you find the thing that's saying read file on something something something.map. You double click it, now you have a full stack trace of all kernel mode and user mode code that calls it. And now you can find exactly where the game touches that map file. And then of course a good development environment is key. I use Visual Studio, some people use Notepad, others use Vim and GCC. It's really up to you, but most game hackers stick to low-level compiled to native code stuff because they have a lot of control over the game. And then once you have your toolkit and once you've reverse engineered a game, there's a lot of things you can do with that. You can manipulate memory. Let's say you reverse engineer the list of creatures in the game, right? And it has some value in the structure that says this creature is not visible. Well, now you iterate through that list, you slap them all to 1, and now every creature is visible. You see every creature even if you're not supposed to, stuff like this. Or you can inject a DLL. DLL injection is really powerful. It's also really detectable. So there's a debate, some game hackers just, they don't touch it. I do it all the time. So you can inject a DLL and you can like hook functions. So let's say the game's calling DirectX draw text function, right? So you look at the text that's being drawn and, oh, it's your enemy name. So now you know where the enemy name is being drawn on the screen, move the gun to that position, hit a button, aimbot. Where am I at? And you can do a lot of other things with hooking as well. It's great for drawing too, drawing HUDs. You can hook like drawing player name function again and maybe draw stuff under them like they have this much health if it doesn't normally show that. So it's great for that as well. Stealth methodology is another big thing. Games will try to detect bots. They will ban people who use them, and that's not fun. If you're selling a bot, your users get banned, you're not selling a bot anymore. So you really have to pay attention to stealth. So one thing, like the first thing someone does if they're trying to hide from client-side detection at game is removing any injected DLLs from the module list. So they grab process environment block, find the module list, take it out, and now game doesn't know your DLL is injected unless it uses some advanced techniques. And then there's like randomizing the names of your processes in Windows. So instead of bot.exe, every time you start it up, it's ask.exe, some random text, right? And then there's hiding bot artifacts using rootkits. So maybe you just hook every single file function that the game could possibly call, and you just make sure it never shows your files in memory, simple user mode rootkits. Or if you want to get really advanced, you might manual map the DLL in memory with no headers and do all the relocations yourself and do some crazy advanced stuff. If you're up against Blizzard or something, that's something you definitely need to do if you're injecting. And another method you'll use to keep games from detecting you is anti-reversing. So maybe you'll take your PE header once you inject a DLL, or once your process forks, you just blank out that PE header of everything but import tables and the essentials the process needs to run. So it's harder to detect. Or because once you corrupt that, they attach a debugger. Debugger might get confused, right? If you take out the entry point or whatever, depending on the type of debugger. You can pack your code, so you have a DLL packed into your resource section. You decrypt it at runtime, you manual map it into memory, all your code's there. It makes it really hard to reverse engineer. Or there's also debugger detection, which is really common. There's many ways to do it. And the fun thing is hindering analysis upon detection. Like me, I like to blue screen them if they're debugging my process. So you can call set process is critical from NTDLL, and now if your process has debug rights and it dies, computer blue screen. So detect the debugger, hit exit, after calling set process is critical, blue screen, they lost everything. So that's one of my favorite methods. Moral and legal implications. This is one thing you really have to think about. There's the moral aspect of, if a game gets overrun with bots, you've basically killed that game. There's no fun left, right? And then there's the legal implications of game companies will seriously sue you if you ruin their game. If you look at how bots affect virtual worlds, botters get large advantages. So they have more in-game assets, more items, they have more gold, they go to work and they come back, they have 5 more levels above you, and they might have enhanced PvP abilities because they have their combo bots or their aim bots or whatever. So the economy becomes extremely inflated because of this. Gold becomes abundant, cash for gold services thrive, and it's immensely hard for new players to come into a game and play it when you have level 400s running around with infinite gold and you're a level 1, like, well, what do I do? Oh, someone just killed me. And the game mechanics also change. Sometimes games will implement new mechanics or new ways of playing the game to make it easier for fair players to keep up with bots, but that inherently kills the game. It's not what it used to be. It's easier or it's different. So that's also an issue. So one case study I have here is a game called Tibia again. In 2007, if you wanted to spend $30 to buy gold in this game when the gold was much more challenging and there were no bots, you would get maybe 75,000 gold for $30 if you're lucky in 2007. Now in 2014, game is overrun with bots. You spend $30, you have 4 million gold. Go crazy. Another case study on Tibia is in 2009, the game had been around for 12 years. The top level was level 430, and the 1000th level was level 220. Now in 2014, which is, 5 years later, the 1000th level is 398, and the top level 744. That seems like double. The experience difference there is actually almost 6 times. So in the 5 years since bots became prevalent in this game, people are 6 times higher level than they were in the 12 years that the game was played manually, which it's a huge deal. So when game companies see this happening to their games, they obviously want to take out the botters. So they'll implement detection methods. Blizzard has Warden. Some game companies have their own proprietary software, but most companies go with out-of-the-box solution like Valve Anti-Cheat or Punkbuster or GameGuard or HackShield. The problem with these is they're just broken by nature. So when they detect people, which they're not always legit detections. Sometimes the detection is just broken, the player never bought it. They'll just delete the account. Sometimes they'll ban them, but normally they delete their accounts, and whatever money they spent on that game is gone. And it's very expensive for players, whether they bought it or not, if the game is pay to play. Like if you have to pay $60 for a copy of this game and you're banned, then you probably don't want to bought. And like I said, tens of thousands of fair players have been wrongly banned in the past due to bugs. An example of this is Punkbuster. So recently, actually in October of 2013, there was a false positive for their Battlefield 4 detection. Something like 2,000 to 4,000 players just got banned, and they didn't get their accounts back for a week, and that's like a $60 game, right? And then back in 2008, there was actually a group of hackers that was like, well, hey, Punkbuster just arbitrarily scans memory. We should attack it. So they open up IRC and they go into some high populated channels and they just spam signatures, bot signatures in IRC. Everyone with the IRC channel open just gets banned instantly, right? So just completely taken out. So it just shows how broken the detection can be in some instances, because it just scanned memory of every process, not processes with handles to the game, not game processes, not processes that open after the game, it just everything. I had one other case study and I totally lost it. So Valve Anti-Cheat actually has a much worse track record than Punkbuster. There's been 7 times since it was released in early 2000s that it's wrongfully banned people. So the initial release was just banning people at random for what they call faulty memory. I don't even know what that means, but it was pretty bad. And then same version and a few versions after that would ban players who are using a wine equivalent for gaming, Sediga. I've never heard of it. But anyone who was using that, which was like wine but for games, would get banned on Linux. So that was pretty bad. In 2004, there was a server-side glitch that banned like 12,000 people. Funnily enough, it happened on April 1st, so I don't know if they were just joking around or what. July 2010, another 12,000 people were banned on Call of Duty because Valve Anti-Cheat, which is made by the guys who make Steam, thought a Steam update was a bot. Steam replaced the DLL in place while the game was running, and VAC was like, oh, that can't be good. Banned, 12,000 people gone. So in 2011, more COD players were banned due to being infected by malware. So this malware is walking around with a bot signature for some reason, and it's getting a bunch of people banned. And then in 2011 and 2014, there were undisclosed bugs that got another handful of people banned on VAC. So bot detection can be really broken in some instances. So instead of going after the players, sometimes game companies decide, let's go after the hackers, the people who are making the bots. So like game companies will sue you if you make a bot and they get mad at you. There are a few instances of this I'm going to talk about. First, a small anecdote. I made a tool for a game called League of Legends. My tool was called LOL Oracle, and what it did is whenever the loading screen pulled up, it just showed like the players' ranks and their win-loss ratio, how many times they played that champion, stuff like this. So Riot Games, the game company that made League of Legends, they had a website for tools like this where it says, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. If you're in a gray area, send us an email. Here's our email address. So for 2 weeks, I'm sending them emails like, hey, I made this tool. I want to release it. I don't want to piss you off. Can you respond? Here's what it does. Here's the code. Let me know. I get nothing back. So whatever, 2 weeks has gone by. I buy a website template, buy a host, put up a website, announce it on Reddit. Almost immediately, I get a message on Reddit. Hi, my name's Dave Pritchett. I'm from Riot Games. Can you add me on Skype? I want to talk to you. I had this guy on Skype. Basically, what he has to say is, you need to shut this down or we're going to send a cease and desist. He basically told me, look, the lawyers just wanted to send you a cease and desist because we don't like this thing, but I didn't want it to go to legal if it didn't have to, so I'm asking you nicely or we might take you to court. Literally within an hour of releasing this thing after emailing them. So some more intense instances of this can be seen with World of Warcraft. They really go after bot makers. So I mentioned both Ceiling Fan Software and MDY Industries earlier. Ceiling Fan made $268,000. Blizzard in 2012 reamed them in court for $7 million. $7 million settlement. because they made $268,000 or $98,000 selling bots. Then in 2006, much earlier, MDY made $4 million. They got reamed for $6 million by Blizzard as well. So TLDR, if you piss off game companies, you're fucked. Oh, also RuneScape. There was a bot for RuneScape, and Jagex, the people who make RuneScape, basically said, you can't make this, we're suing you. Once the lawsuit finished, there was an undisclosed amount of money paid, but the people who developed the bots, if they touch RuneScape, talk about RuneScape, or touch any other Jagex game, they have to pay $1 million. That was part of the court settlement. So they just said, don't go anywhere near our stuff ever again, or you're gonna have to pay us a lot of money. So they take it very seriously. Okay, that's it. I wish I had my slides, because I'd have some better visual representations. I'll open it up to Q&A if anyone has any questions.
Actually, I have a good case study in and of itself. About, I'd say, sometime around mid to early last year, a game called Arma 3 had frankly, a worm that was a game hack, which was using the in-game scripting language to infect the profiles of the players, and then it spread through the multiplayer, and in spreading, what it would do is it would cause everything on the server to blow up, and it would kill everybody and all that stuff, and it would say, hey, Bohemia, fix your game. So what it was doing was it was exploiting the fact that they had functions which could be recompiled in-game after they were called. So they were able to use that to act as a worm and infect the user profiles. In order to get rid of it, you had to delete the user profile to actually get rid of it. But if you got into another multiplayer server with someone in there, everybody in the server got infected.
That sounds along the lines of the Punkbuster trick that they did with just banning a bunch of random people.
Oh, I was in the developer community chats for that game when that was going on. It was chaos.
Yeah. Anyone, any other questions?
Hi, yes. I had to quickly run through an interview because I do the radio stuff, but I got to see most of your talk, and I'm really happy that you're able to do a talk not only about games, but something I feel important to me because I used to develop games as an independent contractor from 2005 to 2009. I left that because I work in the other hell now, which is gaming marketing. And one of the main reasons why I left is I used to do design, mainly level design, and working with the people who run the engines in the art department and unite them together. And what frustrated me and had me left is compounding that we've dumbed down our gaming audience for being creative, essentially punishing them for exploring options and possibly making new gameplays, combined with the fact that the gaming industry tends to copy what's successful without understanding why things were successful, and thus they're also afraid, due to budgets, to do any sort of new change. My question is that, do you think this is something that will never be fixed, or do you think what would it take for companies to start going back on this? Is it the expansion of indie games? Would it be the death of the quote-unquote AAA market?
Honestly, it's hard to say. I've noticed the same as you, and one big thing is when a game is successful, everyone copies it. Like, look at Call of Duty. Like, 5 years ago, it was a great game to play, and now they've just re-released the same game with the same cutscenes and same graphics and everything a million times. So to that, I'm really not sure what it'll take for the gaming industry to realize this. I'm not so much the creative type or the marketing type, so that might actually be out of my depth at this point.
I personally think it's probably going to be a combination of factors, and I think they're going to slowly reach their vector point soon with the way tastes have been changing. But I think what would be really important is talks like what you've done. So thank you for having this talk. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello. This has been an interesting talk. I've always wondered, like, what the heck is Punkbuster anyway? And now I know a little something about that. My question is, so it sounds like they are detecting bots by basically kind of checking to see if the game that's running is the same game that the developers wrote. Is there anything like heuristic detection, like if it notices somebody's shooting very accurately, then that's a possible bot?
So heuristic detection is typically server-sided. One of the games I make a bot for called Tibia right now, they do a lot of server-sided detection. And it's mostly based on like, if this player walks to the same place 100 times today, well, it's probably a bot because people play much more randomly. They just go where they feel like going and stuff like this. So there's heuristics on that aspect. There's also heuristics for detecting combo bots. Like if the same group of 10 people all shoot the same rune within 200 milliseconds 10 times in a row, they're probably using a combo bot and stuff like this. Like you said, client side, they're doing basically that's like malware signatures. They just have a list of signatures they scan memory for, or they check, make sure all the DLLs have the same code in memory that they had on disk. World of Warcraft has a really interesting way of detecting client side as well, and it might include some heuristics. We don't really know. I haven't looked at Warden, but from what I've been told, no one really knows what it can do because it sends down some compiled bytecode and some proprietary language to the client. This bytecode executes and it has some question in there, it has some riddle, basically a function that returns some value. And when that value is returned, then the game sends it to the game server. So the only way to evade that is really to let it execute and hope you don't get caught, because if the game server doesn't get that response, then it knows you've just shut off Warden and it'll disconnect you or ban you or do whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting methods, and heuristic detection is definitely one. There's great papers on it. I wish I had the information with me right now, but yeah, it's definitely something that's used, but mostly server-sided.
A follow-up. What might you do if you were on the other side? What might you do to check for bots?
So I've thought about this a lot, and there's the signature detection, which is kind of broken. I would probably take that and I would chop it out to something more specific, first of all. Something that's not going to get you banned when you're in an IRC channel and someone pastes a signature. There's stuff like, instead of trying to detect bots, I think they should actually be prevented. So other than that, other than basic signature type detection, I would probably look at preventing bots, doing things like packing the game and loading it at runtime, or having it compiled in some fast but proprietary bytecode language that's run, stuff like this. Randomized packets and stuff like this, like the game server sends down some value between 0 and 255, and then that determines some random packet numbers that are used to identify the way it talks back and forth. I mean, it's a hindrance, it's security by obscurity, but when I'm making bots, it's, if I can just see this value being pushed to a function that I've determined to be create packet, it's really easy to know that this is packet number I need. Now, if it's got some function call and then it's doing a switch case and then I have to reverse engineer all this, it makes it extremely harder to make bots. So there's the security by obscurity, I think, is the best bet, and then beyond that, some signature-based detection and probably some memory checks and stuff like this. It's really hard to approach, though, which is why everyone who's done it has been pretty broken so far.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Much thanks to the gentleman before me. That was very similar to my question. What resources would you recommend for both sides of that?
Resources, it really depends on the game. Like, if you want to hack a specific game, there's always going to be a community for it. If you just want general resources, I would say learn reverse engineering, because it's not like, game hacking is not a specific thing. There's some specific things you need to know, like how to effectively hook DirectX and stuff like this. But beyond that, it's really just knowing how to reverse engineer a game binary and then how to hook into it. So a little bit of malware analysis, a little bit of malware dev, throw them together, and you've got game hacker's arsenal right there. Specific resources, like I said, it depends on the game. For the game Tibia, there's a site called tpforums.org, and it's just got every structure in this game outlined. And every time there's a game update, it's got different addresses for everything in the game. So it's really dependent on the community.
Okay, so then by the same token, as far as detecting that that was going on the game developer side, sort of the methodologies that they would use, still nothing really particular for?
Well, see, that's an interesting question. This is another thing I've thought about. One huge thing, if you want to detect a bot, instead of having some catch-all software like Punkbuster, you should really find those specific communities that are making those bots and see what they're doing. Because if you know that this whole community that has all the main bot developers for your game all just nopes out this jump right here to do this certain bot function, like maybe it's a jump that jumps over printing a name if the player's on a different floor or something, and they nope it out, so now you can always see the name, something like that. If you know everyone's using that, well, you can interpolate the address of where that's happening in your code using some assembly magic, and now you see if that code is 90, 90, 90, 90, and you know there's a bot. So if you're looking at it on a game-specific level, you can really go look at what the communities are doing and detect that way.
Dig it. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, how's it going? Great talk. Oh man, that's so weird. I was curious, so a lot of the services nowadays, or the gaming services like, Blizzard, you tie all your crap to like one account, and so that means that kind of doing that testing is kind of really dangerous. So when it comes to, trying to figure out how to bot a game without getting spotted, what kind of methods do we do to actually test or, tread the water and making sure that a bot won't get banned, because or they make it expensive to do is what it seems like, or at least that's one mitigation.
So a lot of the mitigation techniques or the detection techniques, they have two parts to them. One is like the memory scanner verifying that the DLLs are what they say they are. And basically every cheat software out there, there's some forum that tells you exactly how to disable it, what code to nope out, what functions to hook, and what returns to give, and now the software is broken. So it's the signature detection that matters at that point. And if you're sitting here with your compiler open and you're prototyping a bot, they're not going to have your signature unless you're doing something very specific, but the chances are really nil. So if you're experimenting and you're keeping it to yourself, chances are you're not going to have a problem. When you start distributing that bot to your friends and stuff, and the game company sees a botting issue and they look specifically at those players, that's when there's going to be a problem. Or if you start selling it, well, now they're going to get their security team or their anti-botting team to reverse engineer your bot, tear it apart, and find the signatures as well.
So they're not going to like pinpoint you, and if all of a sudden you disable Warden or something, and
if you disable Warden, you will get pinpointed. Because like I said, it has that riddle thing from what I've heard. I've never played with it, but that's what I've heard, that once it sends the code down, server needs a response or it's going to kick you off. Okay. So it's once again, it's game specific. Like League of Legends, I played with it all day. I made Zoom hacks, I made camera hacks, I did all this fun stuff with League of Legends. I never got banned, but people use Bot of Legends and they get banned all the time on League. So it's for the most part, for the majority of cases, that's not a problem until you start distributing the bot. But in cases like World of Warcraft and stuff, it might be a problem, and I'm not sure I'm the best person to comment on how to get around it.
Oh, okay. Slightly unrelated, I was into console hacking and got all my friends banned off Xbox Live, and I wonder if you had any experience in doing the same kind of thing, or...
I have no experience in console hacking, but from what I understand, there's a lot of hardware hacking aspects to it,
right.
And that's way out of my league at this point.
Oh,
so
well, it's a lot of fun.
It's something I'd love to get into, so I'm definitely going to check it out when I have more time.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks.
What's stopping the game companies from using code signing to make sure you're not knopping anything out from their PE files?
So code signing would work for like DLLs that are being loaded, but most games are going to inject the DLL, do it all at runtime. And if your code is signed, it doesn't really matter, because if the signature's only checked right before the process forks. So if I'm modifying your code at runtime, then there's really nothing you can do. Some workarounds that games use is, of course, like ASLR, so it makes it hard to modify stuff at runtime, but it's still not impossible. For like someone who's just getting into game hacking, ASLR seems like a major setback, but once you've been doing it for a while, it's extremely easy, because it's not like you're an exploit on the stack trying to find your location. I mean, you can call git module handle, and now you have the base address, and you do some simple math. So it's not really an issue, because, I mean, some people do hex editing, but if you're serious, you're not hex editing, and if you're serious, and if you're not serious, you're probably not working with a game that has signed binaries. So.
And what about attaching to itself so you can't attach to it with a debugger? And if you combine that with signed binaries, now you can't attach and modify memory short of having kernel access.
Well, you can still attach a debugger even if it's attached to itself. Like there's a plugin for Oli. I think Oli Advanced has the plugin for this where you check attach to process anyway, and now you can attach to it. Now there's anti-debugging measures as well, and that's just where you pull out your reverse engineer toolkit and you go at it like you're going at malware. If you've ever done malware analysis, you find out how it's detecting you take that out of the equation. Now, like you said, combined with signed binaries, maybe it becomes an issue because now you have to patch it every time you attach to the binary, but that's where custom tools come in. You write a script to do this automatically, or you write a plugin or whatever. If you're using IDA, use IDA Python, have a Python script do it as soon as you attach and stuff. So it's definitely a setback, but it doesn't make it impossible.
Okay, thanks.
Hi. As far as checking runtime binaries, developed a failed game about 5 years ago. Game just never took off. What we did though to check it was about every 30 seconds from the server, we would send down a fingerprint request, and it would fingerprint a section of memory. If we got the wrong answer, you got logged out. No banning, but gone. For the commercialization of bots, to prevent getting sued, why not just move it, at least the business portion of it, offshore?
So some people do that. There's a lot of ways people make money. Some games, you'll develop a bot and then you'll have a team of friends, whatever, that just run this bot themselves. You don't sell the bot, but you have friends that run this on hundreds of accounts. Then you have hundreds of millions of gold and you sell the gold, and that's how you make your money. Now, the game company can't really prove that you used gold getting a bot, so they can't really sue you. And selling gold is illegal in the eyes of the game company, but in the eyes of the law, it's not. There's nothing that they can say is intellectual property theft with selling gold where they can with developing a bot. So that's one way people do it. Some people do sell bots, like you said, move it offshore, sell it on Tor and use Bitcoins. You know, I've never seen anyone do that, but I'm sure someone's tried it. I'm not sure if it's easy then, because a lot of the audience buying bots is going to be a 13-year-old kid who just wants to play this game. And this 13-year-old kid doesn't want to fire up Tor, figure out how to buy Bitcoins, get his mom's approval to use the credit card to buy Bitcoins, and then buy a bot for this game. It's too much trouble. So that might be an issue. But like an example, like I said, with gold selling is the best way to do it, you said, because gold in the game is almost like Bitcoins, right? So an example of that is there's one guy who uses my bot, and he has about 6 dedicated servers running something like 1,200 characters at a time. Now, across 70 servers, 1,200 characters is a lot. It's a little less than 20 characters on every server running. He just collects immense amount of gold, and he makes more money selling that gold than I make selling the bot to him and everyone else. So that's probably the main way to do what you say there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got 2 questions. First one is kind of based on what he said. How prevalent is console hacking, and what's the vector to it? How do they?
So, I like he just said, super prevalent. I've seen it a lot.
It's a more hardware side or software side?
I think it's really hardware sided from what I've seen. Like the Xbox, it had a JTAG header on it, and then they could pull down the serial information and communicate with the debug interface, and somehow from there they got stuff onto it. Then there's you can get the hard drive from the Xbox, and you can find the files that store the information about games. And there was a thing, this is the one console hacking thing I did do, is the save file for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Sorry. The name that you had in game, which was supposed to be your gamer tag, was also stored in their save file for some reason. So you could modify that, and you could change the color of it and stuff by just modifying it with a hex editor in place, and then you could put it back on your hard drive, load it in the Xbox, and now you have whatever name you want with whatever fancy characters and colors you want. So I think there's a lot of different venues to it, but I've seen it everywhere. There's not a first-person shooter on the console that doesn't have God mode servers you can log on if you have a JTAG'd Xbox.
One other quick question. I hear guys talking about they read the source code. Where do they get the source code from for games?
So it depends. I think, I can't remember the game. I think it might have been DayZ that just had a huge leak. All their source code was leaked.
Oh, okay.
some other people may, I've seen people go as far as pulling it out in IDA and decompiling it and then fixing out variable names themselves and making it compilable code. Some games that are written in stuff like Flash, you can decompile the Flash to near compilable code already. So there's been instances of people decompiling a game that's in Flash, basically, writing the scripts to make the changes to the code that they need to recompile it, and then just every time the game updates, they just decompile it, put it as a branch in a repository, do a merge with their bot, recompile the Flash, and then redirect it. Now you have a full bot based on their code base with no reverse engineering magic anywhere.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
When can you call something a bot? Let's say I have a plugin for World of Warcraft, which helps me, let's say, play better, right? And it uses the API, which other people use to build plugins, and technically it's legal. I never released it, but let's say I'm just better because of it. Or two examples. Once I modified my mouse to, I combined it with a blinking circuit. So it turned into a auto-clicking mouse, and all semi-automatic weapons in games, they became automatic. Nobody noticed. But in one game, I just put a little dot on my screen in the middle to shoot guns with no crosshairs, and I got banned pretty fast. Who decides what is a hack, what is a bot, and what is not?
Okay, so I have 2 minutes, so I'm going to answer this really quick and then take the guy behind you. But in that instance where you said it was turning semi-automatic weapons into automatic, it was probably heuristics, like one guy asked about earlier, where the server saw at a set interval you were hitting this button every single time and you were getting kill shots every single time. Some heuristic probably said he's using some bot and bans you. Now, as to who says it's a bot, it's dependent on the game company. They decide what they call a cheat, and their detection is really the be-all, end-all. So there have been lots of instances of people not using bots and getting detected, not due to bugs, but just playing really well or really consistently. So it's really dependent on the game.
I see. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just about someone else asked about how to get rid or what to do against bots. One thing I know Blizzard does is if it detects a new bot, is not ban it, but wait until the guy finishes it and starts selling it, and then ban the other people who bought it to get the reputation of that guy down, so nobody buys it anymore from him, so he stops developing. I find it an interesting idea.
Yeah, I would say that's interesting too. It's kind of a dirty way of doing it, but when people are messing up your game, I guess playing dirty is allowed. Okay, well, I am out of time, so thank you guys. Thanks for the wonderful questions. It's getting late, so after the next talk, go to the bar, get drunk, and then come up and watch Algorithm and eat vegan popcorn.
Here we are. Thank you very much. All right, as I was saying, I hope energy levels are high. It's going to be a great talk, great evening. Stay up late tonight. What do you got to do? Work on Monday? Forget about that. All day today, all night tonight, all day tomorrow. Party on. So welcome to the Getting Into Late Evening talk. I just want to mention a couple quick announcements. One is please consider taking your garbage with you. I know it comes in and it's not garbage, and then when it's time to go out, it is garbage, and please deposit it in the back. The hotel appreciates that, and it gets us happy with the hotel, and we like a happy hotel. Also, if you haven't noticed already or haven't heard about this already, the U track for the 4th unscheduled track, the sign-up sheet is available. It's right there right now for Sunday. So if you'd like to sign up, maybe you had a lightning talk that was a little more extensive. I don't think we're going to have a projector still, but maybe you had a lightning talk and you wanted to expand that. The U track is open tomorrow. And the other thing I want to mention is we do have vegan popcorn at the 1 a.m. showing of the Algorithms movie in the next, the next room. So that'll be fun. Okay, here we go. The Sex Geek as Culture Hacker with Kirsten Stubbs, Dr. Stubbs.
All right, hi everybody. So if you're in this room, I hope you like sex. If you don't, that's okay. That's totally cool, but this may not be the talk for you. So and that's okay. I always like to say, if at any point you need to get up, you need to go to the bathroom, you need to go get a drink, whatever, you don't need my permission, we're all adults, just go do what you gotta do, that's fine. So let's get it rolling. A little bit about me. So I'm Kristen. I identify as queer and more specifically pansexual, which means I am potentially attracted to humans, kind of regardless of their gender presentation or their physical makeup, like it doesn't matter. That's just how I identify. My preferred pronouns are she and her, but I'm not particularly strongly gendered. You're like, hey lady, and I'm like, oh yeah, me? So yeah, gender with me is really kind of complicated, and we can talk more about that later if you like. My background, I have a PhD in robotics from Carnegie Mellon University. Yeah, I appreciate that. I live in Boston now, and so everybody's like, hey, you know so-and-so from MIT? And I'm like, no, sorry. Yay, CMU. So my work at Carnegie Mellon was largely in human-robot interaction and in educational robotics. But these days, I do things that are a little bit different than that. So getting into what we're talking about. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, what is a geek? A little bit, talk about that. What it means if we're talking about a sex geek. What is this culture that we would like to hack through being sex geeks? And then I'm going to introduce you guys to a few folks who are out there doing really awesome sex-positive work. And finally, the sort of broader context. If you start doing kind of public culture hacking in this way, what happens? And I'm going to share some personal stories, and it should be fun. So here we go. I love this quote from Wil Wheaton. If you haven't seen Wil Wheaton's address to the newborn girl about what it means to be a nerd, like, oh, go watch it. It's fantastic. So being a nerd is not about what you love, it's about how you love it. And so, you know, conventionally say, if you're a video game geek, and I do like video games myself, if you say you're a video game geek, people will probably assume you like to play games. Pretty reasonable assumption. But, you know, once we say geek, then we get into this whole other world. You watch podcasts, you're on Twitch, you're going to cons, maybe you're making costumes, you're talking to people, you're writing about the games that you like and the games you don't like. There's this whole ecosystem around it. Now, what happens, however, if I stand up here and tell you I'm a sex geek? Your first likely assumption is that I like to have sex, and you would be correct. I do like to have